our study time. So here we are. I invited people here today because I had been offering the opportunity of all change, and I think that people weren't too sure about what all change offered. So I introduced 8 videos which are available on my Judith McFadden Facebook page. And in those 8 videos, I covered generally all of the areas that we're going to cover in All Change. And as I say, I got to the point with speaking to people that I don't even think I realized just how in depth and how life changing this program has got the capacity to be. If people join in and follow me and work with the program. So the plan for today was really to run through very loosely what we've got on the 8 videos. So we're going to run through fuel choices and looking at what we fuel our body with, and some misconceptions there about, let's face it, fueling our bodies, most people will call it dieting. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're also going to look at stress and the effects that stress have on our body. Today we're going to look at some techniques and why you do that technique. I want people to understand the why behind what I'm teaching. Once you understand the why, everything else becomes so much easier. We're going to look at genetics very briefly, because there's not really an awful lot there to necessarily understand other than it's a myth. We're also going to look at neuroplasticity. So again, another thing that I come up against a lot is I'm too old, like an old dog can't learn new tricks. I've reached this age, I can't do anything about it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to look at self-talk, because that's one of the biggest things that hold us back, what goes on up in the coco. And with All Change, we look at techniques and how to catch self-talk and how to reprogram how we speak to ourselves internally and how we internalize information. Once you start to do that, it's quite surprising just how horrible we can be to ourselves. So that's a big chunk of All Change, and how we look at how we interact internally with ourselves, which then presents to the outside world. Tension in the body, it's a big thing. Today we're gonna talk about pretty much 2 things: the tension in the body and getting rid of that tension. We've got some pretty intense tools to use for that, which we use within the program. I'm not going to run through those in a lot of depth today. We're going to do a really simple exercise, and that kind of combines with the movement of the body and getting the body moving so that we reduce the tension in the body. So, and then finally, we're looking at the continuation of the self-sabotage, which kind of continues on from the self-talk. So even though we can address our self-talk and we can kind of get a good handle on it, and we can go, yeah, shut up, and we can change it, self-sabotage habits are something that the ingrained patterns of habits that we do on a regular basis. And what you'll find is, before you even catch the self-talk, it doesn't matter if you've managed to change it, you'll automatically find yourself in the middle of a pattern of self-sabotage that you don't even realize that you've got. And All Change, we want you to make you aware of those things so that you can actually realize that you're doing it, and realize that when you realize you're doing it, how you can stop it, grab hold of the reins, pull it back, and instead of going down the self-sabotage route, go down the route that you really want to go down, as opposed to where you're the fear or the negativity that has been ingrained into you in habits thinks that you want to go to. Okay, so there's loads to get in there, and I've got a really awesome habit of talking very fast. So I'm going to do my hardest today to make sure that I keep it fairly slow. But one thing I'd like to just quickly say to you is I am a very proactive, very positive person. Over the recent years and recent months of working on the very content that we're working on in the program, and obviously the best way to learn something is to teach it. So as I've been putting together the material, it's made it even more, brought it more to the surface, the things that I'm like, oh my God, do I actually think that? Where did that come from? And what am I doing this for? So it's been an interesting process for me. And today is a perfect example of that, because obviously for me, everything has always got to be perfect. And for many, many years, work for me has been a big thing, because my work is what I do. It's not a job, it's my life. So whatever I've chosen to do has always been, full professionalism, always there. There's a certain element that you have to maintain, if you like. And obviously being on this program and this journey in recent years, many of you do and don't know, I've got kind of like two lots of families. So I've got an older family and I've got a younger family, and I've got two small boys, 5 and 6 at the moment, and I'm a single mum, so I'm at home on my own with them and my 19-year-old daughter. The two boys are quite energetic, so generally I'll make sure that they're not around when I do something like this. However, today I am breaking that mold, and I had a word with myself today and thought, there's no need for that. We can, we've managed the day, we're here. So we're currently all in the living room together. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so that for me is a big self-sabotage thing. I would have in the past gone, oh my goodness, no, I can't do this because they're here and I'm not going to be able to do it and I'm going to have to cancel it. And I would have stopped. So today, no, I'm not going down the self-sabotage route. It's cool. Everything's fine. If I get interrupted, nobody's going to die. So I shall apologize in advance if we do get interrupted, but like I say, no one's going to die from it. So let's get into this. So please excuse me, I've got my notes in front of me because I've got lots of them. If you've managed to watch the videos or if you've managed to be in contact with me before, then you'll know that for me, fuel choices, it's a massive area for me, for everybody. So I've spoken before in the video about, making sure that we eat naturally. What I really want to point on, the concept of this call is to give you some ideas of what we actually focus on in more depth and all change. So we know about food intolerances because I've spoken about that. One of the issues that most of us hear about, I talked about diet now, counting your calories. And the funny one for me, this has made me laugh for years, is when on the machines it says you have burned 167 calories today. How does the machine know how many calories you have burned? The machine doesn't know how much you slept last night, at which cycle of your hormones you're in, whether you're pregnant, whether you were up half the night with whatever you were up half the night with, whether you're sick, whether you've had enough water today, when your last meal was. There's a whole load of things there that the machine in the gym doesn't know, so cannot tell you how many calories you have burnt. It's an indication, but it's not an actual factor. Now, that aside, we can look up on the internet and we can look for, calorie counting and, all of these things. But every single person is an individual. So if I say I'm going to eat X amount of calories today, and this potato and this carrot and this broccoli are going to give me X amount of calories, that's fine. But when food is cooked and when food is liquefied and various things, when we process food in one way, it changes the calorie content. So trying to count your calories based on our diet is really difficult. So we look within all change at portion size, portion control, and we really base everything on good, proper food. Decent sized portions. We don't work on calorie count. We look at how you feel when you're eating, and if you're still hungry, if you're not hungry. So it's very much an individualized, and we flow with the program. There's a couple of interesting things I want to throw in here so that you can give you, a lot of people come to me and they go, oh yeah, but I've got high cholesterol, I can't eat eggs. So don't tell me to eat eggs because I can't eat them. Okay, why can't you eat them? Well, the doctor said I can't eat eggs because they're going to put my cholesterol up. They were old studies, and they were studies that were done many, many years ago, and we all know that things change. Now, for example, in 2009, there was a study done, and it showed that if people who were already overweight were put on a diet, a healthy eating plan, if they were given 2 eggs a day to eat, and their cholesterol levels actually dropped. Okay, so they didn't eat eggs because, I can't eat eggs because my cholesterol's high. And then they were put on a healthy eating regime with 2 eggs a day and the cholesterol dropped. So that's just one study that's been conducted, and there've been a lot more. Also things like looking at the way we consume. So there's this old thing that we have to intake less calories than we burn. Okay, so that our resting metabolic rate is kind of stabilized. So if we eat a lot of food and we do no exercise, we're going to put on extra body fat or body stores. If we do more exercise and manage to bring that balance back, then we can lose weight or get healthier. the thing is, the more weight you have to lose, what will happen is your body will start to go into metabolic adaptation, which is effectively stops you from going into starvation mode. So say, for example, I eat a lot of food and I'm overweight, and I go, oh, okay, I'm going to diet. I'm going to drastically cut my calorie intake, my food intake right now, because I'm on a diet. What will happen is your body initially, in maybe the first week, will go, okay, boom, and you lose loads of weight. But then the body will go, hang on a minute, something's wrong here. And it will start to store the fats. So that it'll go, no, we better not use this because something's wrong. So that's when people start to plateau and they go, well, after a week, what's happened? I lost so much weight and now it's changed. So that's when you need to start being a little bit more clever about things and actually working with the body to help the body maintain the changes as you go along. Within All Change, we help you with that. Everybody's body is different, and for some people it's harder to lose weight than for others. It's just like that. It's as simple as that. It's to do with their energy, their genetics, the intensity that they train at, how much sleep they get, the quality of the food that they eat, all of these things. What I'd like you to do just now actually is, if you've got a pen and paper handy, is I would like you to I'm being shown a pen on camera here. Hey, I would like you to write down for me a day in my life of, but food wise. So I'd like you to write down, for example, what you eat first thing in the morning, if you have snacks or anything else during the course of the morning, lunchtime, what you eat, in the afternoon, what you would have if there's any snacks or anything there, a dinner, and then anything before you go to bed at night, and an idea of what time you go to bed. So if I can just leave you, hello, we've got a visitor. Hello. So if I can just leave you for a second, there you say hello, you're gonna wave. If I can just leave you to do that for a second and write something down, and I'm gonna write down, I would love to say that it's a myth, but it's actually not. It's what probably 80% of the people who come to me will tell me is their food intake for the day. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. In fact, what I'll do is I'm going to pop a little bit of music on while we do that. So let's see. Anything can happen when we're on a live video. I think we're going to have this finished by the time I manage to pick up some music. Oh, here we go. No. Oh, we've got adverts and everything. Can you hear that? Can you hear that music? No? Take it off. I'm not going to use up my internet connection while that's on because it's not great anyway. Okay, so give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Okay, now I'm going to take Philippa off mute if I can, or actually, Philippa, can you just unmute yourself for me? And if you wouldn't mind just sharing with us what your typical day would be.
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, so my typical day, I'm going to have to be quite honest here. The typical day can vary from day to day. So I'm going to kind of give you a bit of the horrors as well as the good stuff, okay?
Okay.
So I always start with a smoothie. I think I probably missed it a couple of days since I starting with a smoothie, because I really like them. I do go to the gym, and before I go to the gym, I do like to stop in the Dolcetto down our road for a coffee. And quite often I can't resist a croissant. I'm pretty good generally at lunch because I'm getting used to making salads taste of something. So salad and chicken. Sometimes it's cold chicken that I've kept overnight, or I might just quickly cook some up. And then in the evening, because it's so easy, just in one little frying pan, generally a stir fry of vegetables. I like broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, with a protein. And then I do sometimes have fruit with ice cream.
Nice.
So I think that's a fairly balanced confession
Good.
of what my typical eating would be.
Okay.
So that's it then.
Okay, I'm going to add in here that Philip has actually done quite a bit with me, to be fair, including our first oil change that we did in person. And she's done my 7-day detox as well. So she's got a lot of good habits that she's picked up from the work that we've done together already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly run through what would be, I'm sure there's a lot of people who would answer similar to this on the call. My dog's dying at the moment. He's just had a coughing fit, but I don't even know if you can hear that or not. I can hear everything here, but Philippa, go and do me a favour. If you could mute yourself again. I think it would be ideal if I could mute here, but that's not possible. Imagine if you could have a bubble, you could just mute the environment. But yeah, I'm not stressing. So quite often when I say to somebody, okay, so tell me what would be your typical day of food. So the first thing that they would do when they get up in the morning, they would have cereal or toast for breakfast with a cup of tea or coffee, sometimes one, sometimes two. And then they'll go off on their way to work. Then during the morning, they'll maybe have another cup of coffee with a biscuit or, you know, something if somebody's brought something into work. Then at lunchtime, they'll have a sandwich or something like that. And some crisps or, you know, whatever's there, sometimes a salad. And then later on in the afternoon, they'll maybe have another cup of tea or coffee, and they'll maybe have a biscuit with it or some fruit. Then for dinner, we are looking at, typically people will say, well, I usually eat quite healthily. I'll have, you know, meat and vegetables and potatoes, and I'll have, you know, a pasta or something like that, or rice. And I take all of this in. This is all fine. But it's the bit when people say, oh, typically I have a healthy dinner, but it's the thing that it's the small changes that I know that they can make to that we can help them with. Anyway, so that would be the typical. And then coming into the nighttime, they'll maybe, that a lot of people now are quite aware of it. They wouldn't tend to have tea or coffee of an evening, but they'll maybe snacks, you know, they'll have bitty things at home. So they'll have crisps, or they'll have a biscuit, or they'll have something at home, a bar of chocolate that they'll have in the evening. And that's quite normal. Like that's probably 80-85% of the people that would come and see me on a day-to-day basis. And then I'll ask them about their water intake, how much water they take in. And I must say in recent months, years, it's improved. But I still have a good percentage of people who come in and say maybe 2 or 3 glasses a day, which again is something that's ridiculously important. So, you know, people have these ways of fueling their bodies that are really not conducive to good health. And I'm not just talking about losing weight. All change isn't about losing weight. If you just want a quick fix to lose weight, this is not it. This is about how we can change what's happening inside of our bodies to influence what goes on outside of our bodies. So we look at how we fuel ourselves to the inside of our bodies, whether there be damage got in there already, whether there be issues of, you know, diabetes, high blood pressure, all of those things. We want to change the way you eat. That's just going to give you a much better base to allow your body to recover from those things, because our bodies have got the capacity to do that. The human body has got the capacity to repair itself if we give it the right environment. And all change is about giving the body the right environment. So the fuel. What we're going to do is we're going to move on to stress. So I spoke in the video on the Facebook page about the stress bucket and how the parasympathetic nervous system and the central nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. But what I really want to talk about is people completely underestimate the ability of breathing properly to completely rebalance their bodies. Okay, completely underestimate the capacity of it. And so many people come into me and they are not breathing properly. I don't even know what the percentage is, but it's a remarkably high amount, probably somewhere up in the 90s. It's a really nice surprise when I ask somebody to take a deep breath and they can actually do it properly. So I'm going to explain to you a little bit briefly why deep breathing is so important. So we've got a nerve in our body called the vagus nerve, okay? And the vagus nerve comes down from the brain, it comes down through the neck, comes down through the chest cavity, and comes down through the diaphragm, okay? So our diaphragm is that lovely mushroom-shaped muscle which we have, sits underneath our rib cage, and it moves up and down when we breathe, or it should do. So the vagus nerve comes down through that muscle, okay? Now, if you okay, I'm going to come to that in a minute. So the vagus nerve is connected through the parasympathetic nervous system to the heart, the lungs, and the digestive tract. Okay, so the vagus nerve is responsible for the activity in that area, and then it conveys 80 to 90% of what goes on in the organs to the brain. Okay. So it's a really important nerve about, you know, how your spleen's working, how your liver's working, how everything in your organs are working to tell your brain what it needs to do or if it needs to change anything. Now, okay, so we know the vagus nerve comes down and it goes through the diaphragm, okay? Now, my diaphragm is a muscle. And what do we have to do to muscles to make sure they are kept in good condition? We need to stretch them out. So if I don't stretch my diaphragm, it's going to become shorter and tighter, just like every other muscle in my body. If my diaphragm becomes shorter and tighter, then it's going to squeeze my vagus nerve. If my vagus nerve becomes squeezed, it's going to be irritated. It's going to become overactive. It's going to struggle to do its job. Okay. So, and what, you know, nerves travel, there's electrical information that travel up and down the nerves. So it's being interfered with. Okay. So what would we do to allow the diaphragm to release the tension on the vagus nerve? We would stretch it. How do you stretch your diaphragm? It's a valid question now. Simple thing is to take a deep belly breath. So as you take a deep breath in, you're going to fill your lungs with air. And as you fill your lungs with air, you're going to force the diaphragm down. You're going to push it all the way down, and you're going to stretch all the insertion points of the diaphragm and allow it to stretch out. Then you're going to hold it, and then you're going to let the air back out again. Now, if you do that over a series of time, the same with exercise, the diaphragm will eventually start to lengthen out again. Okay, so what I'd like to do with you just now is just quickly run through a very simple exercise, because this is one of the things that I want you to take away with you from today. I'd really like you to set an alarm on your phone to make sure that you do some deep breathing. So sitting up or standing, whatever's easy for you. And I'm going to get you just to let your shoulders come back and down. Now I'm going to count. What I want you to do is put one hand onto your belly and the other hand on your chest. Okay. Now, first of all, I want you to take a deep breath in. Just take a deep breath in however you would normally breathe. And again, take a deep breath in. And just be aware if there's any difference between, does your hand move a lot? Does your chest rise when you breathe? Do your shoulders come up when you breathe? Or do you breathe into your belly? If you're breathing into your belly, phenomenal. Keep doing it, okay? If not, what we're going to do, we're going to breathe together. So we're going to breathe in for a count of 5. We're going to hold for a count of 4. And then you're going to breathe out for a count of 7. Okay? So I'm going to get you to take a nice deep breath in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4. And breathe out. Okay? And again, breathe in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And breathe in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. And breathe out. Okay, so that's a really simple exercise which improves blood flow to the whole body. It improves blood flow to the diaphragm and allows the diaphragm to stretch out and gives the vagus nerve more space, which then in turn allows the body to function better. Now, it's funny because I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to the body. And when I was thinking about how to put this information together and the information, I find myself getting quite overwhelmed because there's so much information. It can become so complicated and so in depth. But the point of my life's work, if you want to call it that, has been to take the complicated and make it simple and take the fear out of it, because there's nothing to be scared of. The body's such a phenomenal machine, but we shouldn't be scared of it. We don't need a doctor or somebody to tell us how to function, how to operate things, because we've got our own intuition. And this is part of All Change, is about that tapping in and listening to your body, the messages that your body gives you. And one of this, something as simple as deep breathing, allows those messages and that intuition to become stronger, because we calm, we relax, we're allowed to feel that relaxation inside the body, and then from there we can start to make different choices in life. So moving on really quickly, we're going to move on to genetics. Now, genetics as such, in the video again, what I was saying was that only research has shown that only 10% of what is wrong with people's disease in the bodies comes from genetics. The 90% comes from environment. So the foods that we eat, the environments that we live in, the people that we mix with, and it's because, illness has been shown to come from dehydration, poor food choices, toxic mental thoughts. There's a whole range of things which right now we're not going to get into, but we touch on a little bit more within All Change. And really it's about clearing up that. We want to look at clearing up the 90% of our environment. So if we're going to look at clearing up 90% of our environment, we look at decluttering life in general. So what I'd like you to do again is just to take your pen and paper just now as a little quick task, and this is just for you. We're not going to share it in the group, but I'd like you just to write down 5 areas in your life that you think that you could declutter from. So if you've got toxic people that drain time, energy, and resources, what can you do about it? Make a note of it and see if there's something that you can do about clearing up the clutter. If your house is a tip and you've got paper stashed in cupboards and you've got clothes that are spilling out the wardrobe, or you've got piles of iron that sit in the corner, then write that down. So I want you just to have a look and see if you can come up with 5 areas in your life just now that you can unclutter from, that you can declutter and clear up your environment. It could be something as simple as clearing up the space around your bed where you go to sleep at night. It could be cleaning up your bathroom space. There could just be one room in the house that you tend to ditch stuff, and if only I could do this. Just let's make a bit of an action plan and write down 5 things, 5 areas that in your environment you could clear up on now. Environment, people, places, whatever. And do you know what? If you're a bit of a neat freak, like super neat freak, then maybe that's something that you could look at doing as well, because we can all take things to extremes. I would have been in the past one of these people who absolutely had to clean the entire house from top to bottom before I went on holiday. At the sofas where everything was done, like to within an inch of its life. And my husband used to say, we're going away for 2 weeks, why are we cleaning so much? But I had to do it, and I used to get myself in such a tiz before I went on holiday because I had to clean the house. And effectively I had like 3 or 4 days of hell before I went off on holiday because I got myself in such a state about cleaning. That was a toxic environment that I was creating for myself. That was stress that I was putting on my body by my own choice. So these are the kind of things that we talk about within All Change. It's a big sphere. We good? Yeah. Okay. So, like I said, that's an exercise for you, for yourself. So I'm going to leave that with you. Now, let's move on to neuroplasticity and the common misconception that we can't learn anything new. You know, that as we all know that when we're children, we absorb information like a sponge now. So kids learning a new language, learning a skill, we just absorb information. That's the human capacity to do that. But we also think that as we get older, that's impossible, or it becomes harder anyway. So looking at neuroplasticity, there's been so much evidence that's come out in recent years. Again, with the development of technology and looking at people with brain injuries and spinal injuries and really investigating that and seeing the brain and the body's capacity to relearn things after tissue has been damaged. So that's allowed the scientists to really look at the body and the brain's capacity to relearn things again, but also to continue learning. So it's not just about an area being damaged, it's about the fact that the brain is so, it's like plastilene, it's malleable, it can be changed, and we can improve it and we can learn new things. So I mean, I've had people, so many people, it's sad how many people come in, and I mean, I'll have people who are younger than me get up on the couch and go, oh well, you know, I'm getting old now, what do I expect? I'm like, what? If you're old, what am I? This is ridiculous. And we've got this, people just do the whole, oh well, I'm getting old now, I've got to expect it. And over the period of years, I've had some real bugbears, and I'm thinking about doing some videos on these to kind of highlight it a little bit more. But so many people have come to me and said, well, I went to my GP about it, but my GP said it's just my age now. And my GP said, well, what do you expect? You're not getting any younger. And unfortunately, it's coming from these people that we go to about our health, that we think are there to look after us, and they're feeding us with information that's not right. And it's sad. It's one of the things that really it bothers me. So that's one of my missions, is to show people how their brain is neuroplasticity capable, and it can change and develop. So we're going to be using a lot in All Change a thing called the 5-second rule. Now this is something that I've learned recently, which is just, it's been a huge help. And it's by a lady called Melanie Robinson, and she's developed the 5-second rule purely, she did a TED talk on it, and then it's just like grown arms and legs and become fantastic. Anyway, we're going to use the 5-second rule a lot throughout All Change, because it's such a simple technique to use to change lots of habits that we've got now. But looking at the neuroplasticity thing, what I want to do is, again, I'm going to get you just to write down maybe three things that you would either like to learn or do. They don't have to be new things. If there's something that you've done in the past and you would like to go back to doing it again, okay, to recall all the old patterns, then I want you to write it down. So 3 things that you would like to do that you either have never done before or would like to revisit and go back to doing again, something that you've enjoyed doing in the past. So it might be a dance, it might be a musical instrument, it could be learning a language, it could be studying something. I really need to study maths. I have been saying for a good wee while, but yeah, this is one of my things that I'm looking at doing. I'm going to pop a light on here. I don't know if that's any better, but yeah. So 3 things that you would like to go back and do or revisit. And I'm going to move on because I know we're kind of getting on with time. So neuroplasticity, we look at in the program how we can change our thought patterns and our habits and our self-sabotage talk. All of these things stop us from doing new things. It's not about the fact we tell ourselves that we're too old, therefore we can no longer do that. I mean, I don't really consider it to be a big thing. I say the statement to myself at times, but it's only because it's been ingrained in my mind. At 43, I've just gone back to doing jiu-jitsu again. Now, if I'm really think about it, when I was 24 or whatever I was when I first did it, people were like, what would you want to do that for? Why would you want to do that? So really, they're now going back at 43. I've got in my head, what am I doing this for at 43? What on earth possesses me to come and do this? What am I trying to prove? Somebody else said to me, what are you trying to prove at your age going to do that? It's all about the outside information that makes us think things. So we're never too old to learn anything new, ever. We're never too old to improve a state or condition of our physical or mental being. Never. We're never too old. The body and the brain has got the capacity to improve if we give it the right environment. So all changes about giving the brain and the body the right environment to learn new things and go back to doing things that we've not done before or we think we can't do now because we're too old. Okay, so with that, we'll use the 5-second rule. If I've got chance when we finish, I'll run over it. Moving on to self-talk. What I would like to do is get you to be aware this week of how you talk to yourself. So if there's something that you know during the course of the day, so tomorrow, for example, when you're out and about and you think you're just about to do something, or you put some clothes on, let's go for that one. You put some clothes on and you start, I can't put that on. That why can you not put that on? Because it looks naff, or because my bum looks big in this, or well, what would people think if I went out wearing that? And just start to be aware of these things and think, oh, do you know what? I'm going to go into this shop, but you haven't really got time for that. And what do you really want to go in there for anyway? Well, I've seen a bag that I'd really like to go and buy. What do you need another bag for? You don't need a bag. Just get on with your day and go and do things. So we have conversations with ourselves all of the time. And I just want us to be a little bit more aware of those things. And some people never admit to having conversations with themselves because they think it makes them sound like they are crazy. But we all have them. We all have conversations with parts of ourselves. Embrace them. Embrace all of your parts. So again, in All Change, we're going to be looking at that, embracing the various parts of ourselves and the various little voices that go in our head, because all the little voices are trying to do is keep us safe. They're trying to keep us in our safety zone, which means if we stay in our safety zone, we never move forward. We never develop, or we develop to a certain point and then our little voices come back in and they bring us back again because it's not safe. So again, that's what we're going to look at. So tomorrow, I want you just to be aware of it. Take some notes for yourself and just be aware of your negative self-talk, self-talk full stop, the conversations that you have with yourself. In the morning, I'm going to have coffee. Do I really have time for coffee? But what if I do this and then I can do that? And that's self-talk. Yeah, you're having a conversation with yourself about it. So be aware of your self-talk tomorrow. And as I say, in an All Change, we get into that in much more depth and look at more specific things. And we've got exercises on how we can identify, and then we reframe the self-talk so that we can take the negative edge off it, and ways to help us say to our little parts that are keeping us safe, thank you for your concern, but I don't need that right now. I'm really good with my decisions. I'm going to move forward. So there's tools we're going to use with that. So we're going to look at tension in our body. Now, I didn't think about this before. I need to make sure I can get up. I might actually need to unplug my earphones. But stored tension in the body comes from lots of things. So if we have an example, so we can be, let's say we're 10 and our big brother has put on a horror movie and we're in bed. So we put the horror movie on. It's like a really nasty Saw or something disgusting. And we've gone to bed. So brother puts it on and we come sneaking down the stairs and we peek through the door and we watch the movie. And we, as a 10-year-old, we get absolutely horrified by what we're seeing. Now, fear in us causes muscular tension. You know, we've talked about the stress response in the body. So when we see something or we experience something that gives us a fright or fear, our body feels it. You know, if you think about it, when you've been given a fright, when somebody jumps out, the new thing in our house at the moment is let's see who can give somebody a fright. Cosmo nearly had a hot cup of coffee poured over his head the other day. But you know, think about what happens in your body. Your heart rate rises, your muscles tense, you're ready to do something, whether you need to give somebody a smack in my case or run away. So your body stores that tension and then it becomes a pattern. So the next time we sneak downstairs and see a movie, we're already nervous about what we're going to see when we look through the crack in the door, and our body's already on the level of, I'm worried already about what I'm going to see, and the fear ramps up and the muscular tension builds. So this is it's a common, that's just an example watching a horror movie, but that's, you know, in lots of areas. So, you know, recurring frights or recurring anxiety attacks will make the retention in the body worse. So I'm giving them a look. They're not paying any attention. So what a really simple tool that I want you to do over the next week, I would love it if you would join me with the body shake. So what I'm going to ask you to do is 3 times a day, I would like you just to shake your body. That's all I want you to do. I don't want you to do anything else. I want you to stand up. I'm going to give you a demonstration, but I don't know if I've really got enough space to do this. The wildlife are becoming restless. So I come up here and go on. Hang on. Move this out the way. Okay, so we're standing, feet hip width distance apart. I'm still here. Feet hip distance width apart, and I want you just to start shaking your legs. So you've got both feet in contact with the floor. You're going to start shaking your legs. Take your feet a bit wider if you need to, and then you're going to start shaking them a little bit stronger. Add your arms in. Let your arms shake. Shake, 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 shake. Now you can also add your head in here as well, which is a bit more difficult today because I'm attached to the computer with a cable, but you're going to let your head go in there. You're going to shake everything off. Now, I think that's a sufficient example. So what we'll say is, I want you to do that 3 times a day, and I want you to count to 30 as you do it. That's it, just 30. Count to 30, give everything a good shake, and I want you to write down or take a note of how you feel each time you do it. So be aware, oh, I'm really tired. Do your 30-second shake, see how you feel after, okay? And I would love, love, love if you would feedback. I'm going to put a little, I'm going to take a note because I'll forget. I'm going to put our body shake challenge on the Judith McFadden Facebook page. So we'll do it together over the next week, okay? So the tension in the body. Within All Change, I keep saying this, we work on those two tools that I'm going to work on you with. One of them is called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, which involves tapping to rebalance the nervous system. And the other one is a technique called TRE, T-R-E, which is a tremor release exercise. And it's both of these are ways to reset the nervous system and allow the body to heal itself, because your body has the capacity if we, nobody said, give it the right environment, okay? So moving on to movement, and this is the part before where I said number 6 and 7 kind of come together, because in All Change we work on movement. Now, I don't want this element to put anybody off, because we all start from where we are. So if I'm in a wheelchair and I physically can't get out of the wheelchair, then obviously I'm not going to ask you to do squats, lunges, kicks, you know, it's not going to happen. What I will ask you to do is move your arms, do some twists, whatever your body is capable of. This is why All Change is an individual program. So we're going to have active exercises within the weeks, over the weeks in the group, but everybody's different. So there is now this program doesn't suit me from that point of view. Please, if you are thinking about coming and doing All Change, don't let it put you off because you think you can't do exercise as it would be described as. Exercise for me is movement. Movement can be this. Movement can be this. Some people that's difficult to do. So if we can get them to move 2 fingers instead of 1, or we can get their head to move 10 degrees more, then that's improvement. That's about All Change, okay? So we're going to start from where you are as an individual. So bringing together the movement and the body shakes, we're going to shake a lot of that out. And then the final video that we did was about continuation. Now, there was some research done saying that, you know, only 2% of people who do study alone, you know, online courses ever complete them. And that, knowing that, I never really wanted All Change to be a standalone course. I wanted it to be very interactive, so that you've got somebody holding your hand. So there's a lot of communication going with me and with the other people on the program to keep everybody buoyant. That's the way I run other programs as well. And obviously, you know, having run group fitness for many, many years as well, the camaraderie that comes within the people who are working together makes a huge difference. There's a little bit of competition there, there's a little bit of love, a little bit of support. Now, we talked about self-talk, and what we do is we look at self-talk, but then we're also going to look at patterns of self-sabotage. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, just so that you're aware of it, have a little think this week and see if there's any patterns of things that you do. I'm going to bring my notes back over here again because they're over there in the dark. So have a think about a time when you've been just about to achieve something, or you have, you know, you've lost weight, or you've managed to get up really early in the morning or whatever, something that you've managed to achieve, and then all of a sudden something happens and you can't do it anymore. So like I said to you before, me would be the kids are here, I can't do this, I can't do the call, I can't do it, or my internet's bad, which all the way through the call it's been telling my internet's bad, and I would probably just go, oh, not bother. So, you know, is there something that you do that you sabotage yourself? And there are patterns, trust me, there are patterns. So I want you to have a little look at that and just think about if there's times when you've just managed to achieve something and then you'll drop back and you won't manage to finish it. I've written a swear word here, so I'm not actually going to say that. But yeah, something that you're ready to do and then you screw it up. What I'm quickly going to run into the 5-second rule here. The 5-second rule is super simple. You can either buy Mel Robertson's book, The 5-Second Rule, and get more in depth with it, or we're going to use it in the program. And basically, what she uses, and it really does work, is she uses the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule, which is counting backwards, obviously, to make changes. Now, what happens when you count backwards? You make a contact with your frontal cortex of the brain, and that it kind of messes you up. It makes you woof, something in your brain spikes. So it allows you to bypass things. It's a lot more in depth than that, but obviously limited on time. We're not going to go into in a great deal just now. But if you find yourself about to make a decision, we make all of our decisions based on how we feel. Okay. So if, for example, we go into the kitchen and we say, I'm hungry right now, I feel like crap. Well, I'm going to make a salad. I could make a salad, but I don't really feel like making a salad. I'm just going to have a bar of chocolate instead. And I can say, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My decisions are made within the first 5 seconds. So if I can interrupt those feeling patterns of blah, 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 and then run down the self-sabotage route, if I can interrupt that with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule and choose a different option, then I'm not as likely to go down the self-sabotage route. And what you'll find is you can use it for everything. Getting out of bed in the morning, not putting the snooze on. Choosing better choices when you walk into the cafeteria, not walking into the cafeteria in the first place. Choosing if you're about to go and spend some money that you probably shouldn't do, but you have a crap day, so you just, why should I not spend it? But you're spending it because you feel like you deserve it, because you're feeling crappy, so you're going to go spend money and feel better. There's lots of different areas that we can use this rule with, and we're going to get into that a lot more in All Change, because it's such a simple, easy, quick, all-round thing that we can use for everything. So have a little look this week. As I said, see if there's something there you can write down, and just bear that in mind when you find yourself going down the slippery slope of temptation or whatever. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and know the choice that's better. Okay, so if that's not having a coffee and having a smoothie instead, or just having a coffee and not having a croissant, sorry Philippa, that was because you said that before, so I had to use it. So and use it and see how you get on with it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I've got the little 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 voice in my head a lot of things recently, and increasingly so. I'm starting to see where the use of it is becoming super useful. So that's really it for what I wanted to talk about today. So hopefully that gives you some sort of an insight as to what we're going to go into in All Change. As I said before, it's one of those things that the more I've written in the course, the more I realise just how in-depth and expansive the material on the course is, and the amount of me and the amount of time and energy that's going into this. Now, what I was doing before was I was going to do it as an online program. And again, the whole, 2% of people don't stick if they don't have, constant support. What I've decided to do is run All Change online out as a rolling program. So I'm going to do it as a monthly membership. Now, what I'm going to do is each week there'll be new material released. So week 1, the material will be released. You've got a week to work through it. Week 2, next lot of material will be released. Whether people work through it in the first week or the second week or the third week doesn't really matter. There's going to be discussions in group forums. The idea is that people can dip into it whenever they want to, whenever they need to. There's going to be relevant homework running throughout the cycle on the group. But I'm going to do it on a monthly membership. Now, the initial starting monthly membership is going to be €67. Okay, so you can join us on for €67 and get access to all of the material, all of the content. Now, this is for our, well, let's say we're going to call them the founding members of All Change. And it's also kind of the beta version, because although we've done it in person, there's so much more content that's gone into this now that wasn't there before. So if you join us for €67 a month, then you can cancel at any time. So if you do the first month and go, do you know what, actually there wasn't as much as I thought or whatever, then you can cancel. But you get to keep whatever you've downloaded from the page, or whatever you've had access to and learned, you get to keep that. So there isn't really a losing situation. The setup and the sign up I'm going to produce over the next week or so. I'm not actually sure of a date of release yet. I'm working on it. There's a lot going on with stuff at the moment, this time of year, summer, and I've got a jiu-jitsu competition coming up, yay, in 3 weeks. So I'm not sure of the launch date of it yet, but what I'll do is it's the technical things more than anything else that I need to look at how it's actually going to be released. I've got a pretty good idea. So yeah, that's the how I'm going to be working the product of All Change, if you like, as a membership program, rolling program. So if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask. If you've got any comments or questions on the content of the call that we've made today, again, please do speak to me. I hope I didn't speak too fast. And my children have been amazing. So I actually told them there's fiesta in the town this weekend, and it's been fireworks and loud music and everything all weekend. And they went down with their dad yesterday, but I haven't taken them down. So I said that if we were all good, we would go and have an ice cream after we finish. So we're going for ice cream. And they know I'm finishing. Thank you very much for being here. And I hope you enjoy what's left of your weekend and start your week. Please feed back to me about your progress and the things that I've asked you to keep an eye on over this week. And that would be all. Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye.